Landon Collins is a man of many names. His family calls him Money, his fans call him 21 Savage, hell, even he calls himself Hollywood. But his teammate, defensive tackle Damon Harrison, might have given him the most appropriate label of them all. One bad motherfucker. Collins exploded onto the scene in 2016 after cutting his weight by 10 pounds last offseason. He wanted to get lighter, faster, and quicker in order to keep up with the pass-heavy offenses that dominate the NFL, and boy did that weight loss make a huge difference. At the 2015 Combine, Collins ran a 4.53 40-yard dash at nearly 230 pounds, which is already pretty darn good. However, after slimming down, at least on tape to me, he looks like he easily pushed himself into the 4.4s. He's now got the range to play a true center fielder role or act as a ball hawk in a too-high shell if he wants to. His feet are lighter and definitely quicker in and out of transitions, his T-step improved, his ability to flip his hips and run with routes downfield improved. Everything about his efficiency in his movements improved, and to be honest, if you slapped a Chiefs jersey on him tomorrow, I would literally not be able to tell the difference on the field between him and Eric Berry. That's how big of a difference his weight loss made. It's rare to find a strong safety that can come up and smack people in run support that can also play a deep half or a deep middle and not get exposed. It adds so much flexibility to your defense when your safeties can play pretty much any role you need them to, and that flexibility is what Steve Spagnuolo relies on. They'll send Collins on blitzes, they'll put him in man coverage on tight ends and running backs, they'll have him bracket receivers over the top, he'll play intermediate and short zones, he'll play force against the run outside or fill inside and make the tackles himself. Whatever you need him to do, he'll do it. That is why he is so incredibly important to this Giants defense, because he's got the instincts and speed of a free safety, but the physicality of a box safety. Like I said, other than Eric Berry and Collins himself, there is a very, very short list of people in this league who can play both of those roles at an elite level. That being said, despite Landon being able to play well in any spot, his best role, at least to me, is as an intermediate and short zone defender. That alignment lets him support against the run fairly easily, but playing intermediate zones also lets him show off his quick feet and short area burst in coverage as well. He is so quick in his transitions to break on receivers underneath, and he's such a good tackler that he can limit yards after catch to pretty much nothing. All of these checkdowns and design throws to the flat that normally get easy gains get nowhere with him because he diagnoses and closes so fast. And when you completely take away what is usually easy, reliable yardage from offenses, it really throws them off schedule. Not only that, but he's able to unleash his inner ball hawk as an underneath zone defender too. A lot of safeties have to play more over the top to get their opportunities for interceptions, but not Landon Collins. He can get you from anywhere at any time. Just ask Andy Dalton, who had nearly thrown a second interception to Collins in Week 10 of last season, only to be bailed out of trouble by, of all people, Jason Pierre-Paul. It's a cover 3 look here, and after biting a little bit on the play-action fake, Collins is playing what's called a curl-to-flat zone. This means that he has responsibility for anyone that comes into the curl zone, but he also has responsibility for anyone in front of him towards the line of scrimmage in the flat zone. So he's covering from intermediate to the underneath zone, working from deep to short. On offense, the Bengals are running, for all intents and purposes, what's known as a sail concept. Their alignment is different than what you typically see out of a sail concept, and the timing is a little bit different because of that play-action fake. But in terms of the placement of receivers and the specific vertical stretches that they're trying to exploit here, this is basically a 3-man sail concept. And how it works is this: you've got one receiver running a 9 route to clear out the cornerback zone in the deep third. That's the Z receiver. Then you've got Tyler Boyd, the Y receiver, in the slot. He's running a deep over route underneath that clear out from the Z, so theoretically he should not have anyone even remotely close to him over the top if he gets the ball. Then underneath Boyd, you've got Giovanni Bernard, the running back, chipping in pass protection and then releasing to the flat as the third level of the read. And what these 3 routes create together is an intense vertical stretch on Landon Collins in his curl to flat zone. He has to choose between getting a lot of depth to take away Boyd or staying short and covering Bernard. It's basically a lose-lose situation that is set up to either get a big gain downfield, or if that's taken away, at the very least they can still get a first down with Giovanni Bernard getting some yards after catch. Not only that, but because Boyd is cutting behind the zone from the other side of the field, a lot of safeties might not notice that over route developing behind them or recognize this concept in the first place. Normally, a sail concept will have all three receivers lined up on the same side of the formation, but this one does not, so it's a bit sneakier compared to your typical sail play. The Bengals are hoping that Collins won't notice that over route behind him and he'll just sit on Bernard underneath, which would then leave Boyd wide open for a huge chunk of yardage. That's the idea behind this play, at least, to either force an easy 10 yards with Bernard or maybe get lucky and have an easy 30 yards with Boyd. However, Landon Collins is not your average everyday zone defender. He's got great awareness and for the most part diagnoses bullshit very quickly when you try to trick him. Watch what he does right after he recognizes the run fake. As he's bailing to get depth, he looks to see if there are any receivers coming to his area. He's not dropping blindly into a zone and then hoping that the quarterback will tip him off on where to go. Quarterbacks lie all the time. It's part of their job. They use their eyes to lie to you as a defensive back and move you off your spot. But route patterns and receivers do not lie. The ball's only going to go to a spot if there's a receiver there to catch it, so the first step in any zone coverage is to identify the pattern in front of you and then track the quarterback's eyes to lead you to the ball. As a safety, if you can identify those patterns immediately, no amount of eye manipulation from any quarterback will ever move you away from where you need to be because you will already know where the receivers are going. So what does Landon do when he looks back to Boyd? He IDs the over route and he knows that the receiver has a ton of space. He knows that if he doesn't move his ass and get depth in his drop right now, that's a big gain guaranteed. And look at his eyes as he's getting that depth to undercut the route. He's right back to locking in on Andy Dalton. Identify the route first, then watch the quarterback. That's how you master zone coverage. And I'll tell you what, if JPP did not put a big hit on Dalton here and knock the ball off its trajectory, that's an interception all day long. Collins had him dead to rights. He had the read from the beginning, he was in position for the undercut. This ball was going to be picked off, no doubt. And you can even see it in Collins' reaction after the play. He knew he had it. He knew right when the ball was released that he would have had it. And while this play may have gone unnoticed until now, Landon, if you're ever watching this in the future, I just want you to know that I saw what you did, and I'm going to give you credit for this pick anyway because you earned it. This was damn good zone coverage, and it needs to be recognized. However, and this is of course a very big however, it's not always sunshine and rainbows on tape with Collins. We've talked a lot about what he does well, but there's still some room for improvement. He is ultra aggressive in zone coverage, which is what you want in a zone defender, but sometimes that aggression gets the better of him when he's playing in deep zones, just like it does for his teammate Janoris Jenkins. They both have had their fair share of mental mistakes in coverage because of that hair trigger. He simply cannot wait to plant and drive on the ball if he thinks he diagnosed the play correctly, which I get. I understand that that's his play style and it's what he feels comfortable doing, so don't take that statement the wrong way. Personally, I like it when my safeties are aggressive underneath, but not so aggressive in deep zones that Kirk Cousins embarrasses them with a pump fake as Deshaun Jackson casually strolls into the end zone behind them. If you are playing a deep zone, your mentality has to be a bit different than if you're trying to plant and drive on the ball underneath. You have to be more patient because there is nobody behind you. If you get caught peeking in the backfield or you bite on a pump fake, you are screwed. Collins can be as aggressive as he wants underneath because at the end of the day, a missed tackle or a misjudged angle is not the end of the world. He's got people behind him that can clean it up. But if he's 40 or 50 yards downfield and he's got Deshaun Jackson of all people running full speed right at him, the margin for error is zero. You cannot flinch and you cannot bite early in that situation. That's what Collins did here, and it left his corner out to dry. Against the Rams a few weeks later, Collins had another near miss because of his aggression. He misjudged the deep ball to Kenny Britt from Case Keenum, and it went right over his head. He was extremely lucky that Britt stopped running in the middle of his route, or that's a guaranteed 81-yard touchdown. And I get it, judging a ball like that when it just hangs in the air is not easy. It can get caught in the lights, the wind can grab it, you can lose track of where you are in the field, you can lose track of where the receiver is. But every good DB coach will tell you the same thing in this exact scenario. Do not stop running deep. Unless that ball is on a rope and you can immediately tell where it's going to go, do not stop running for any reason, because at least if you misjudge it and you're too far downfield, you can always just stop and come back to the ball underneath you. If you misjudge it the other way though, and it's over your head because you stopped moving, there is nothing you can do. You will never be able to catch up. As the deep safety, you have to always put yourself between the ball and the end zone, not the other way around, and Collins was very, very lucky that he did not have to learn that lesson the hard way. But I'll give him credit for this, he did learn that lesson. Just 3 weeks later against the Bears, he was yet again tracking the deep ball down the boundary, and what does he do? He adjusts his angle to get deep downfield as he tracked the ball so that no matter what, it would not go over his head, and then he recognized that he overshot it and came back underneath for the interception. That is how you play the long ball. Get as much depth as possible as you wait to see where the trajectory is going, and then react accordingly. This right here is what I love to see out of young players. I love when they very clearly learn from their mistakes and show growth in the areas that they need to improve in. Collins is still not the perfect safety, but his development from year 1 to year 2 shows that his arrow is still firmly pointing up. He's physical, he's got good range, he's got good footwork, he's a threat to score anytime he touches the ball, and he's even starting to emerge as a leader in that Giants locker room as well. I think he is only going to get better as he gets more experienced in this defense, and I'm really excited to see where he goes from here. I mean, he's already an all-pro caliber player, and he still hasn't even peaked yet. If that doesn't tell you how good he is, then I really don't know what else to say. He's a stud. He's a monster even. He is, as Damon Harrison once very succinctly and eloquently put it, one bad motherfucker.
Hey, Lynn. That will talk my dog. God,
Alright, that's all I got for the show this week. You could probably tell I'm a little bit sick while recording this, but thank you very much for watching, and thank you to all of our new Patreon supporters from this past week. A lot of you guys were asking forever for a Landon Collins breakdown, so hopefully this episode hit the spot for that. All of these weekly donations have really helped this channel grow over the last few months, and just looking back to where we were in February to where we are now, I mean, the growth is incredible, and I thank each and every one of you for helping me to get to this point. It really is amazing. Now, next week, I'm not entirely sure yet who I'm going to be doing an episode on. I've got some ideas floating around, but you can always hit me up on Twitter if you have a suggestion. You can drop a comment in the comments. I'll look through those and see if anything inspires me, so to speak. It doesn't have to be on an individual player. It can be on a team, maybe a week 1 matchup, anything of that nature. Yeah, I've got ideas, but haven't quite decided yet. So I will have something for you next Thursday. I just don't know what yet. So until then, later.